Welcome to the Town Board Workshop and Public Hearing on Thursday, November 5th. Please rise and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Emergency exits are to my right, behind the town clerk, and also the door you came in. Roll, please.
Councilman Delango?
Here.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger? Here. Councilwoman Doyle?
Here.
Councilman Prodi?
Present.
And Supervisor Prodi.
Here. Make a motion to open the public hearing for the water laws.
I'll second it.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Prodi?
Yes.
And Supervisor Prodi. Kevin, I think you can go first.
You surmised that all on your own?
I figured it out.
Do I telegraph myself that much? Okay. In a common rational fashion, I'd like to go over the subject of interest rates that were discussed at the last meeting. And people kept referring to 4% and 10%. And that's not how you refer to interest rates. Interest rates are usually referred to at their annual interest rate level. Like you get on your mortgage or your credit card. You'll see 18%, 24% APR. If you take, everybody was saying we currently pay on the water bill 4%. Well, that's not true. I mean, that's not how that's not how the nomenclature works. You don't refer to interest rates that way. If you take 4% per quarter and compound that out, I mean, straight it would be 16, obviously, 4 times 4. But if you make that a compound interest rate, it comes to 16.999, so let's just say 17%. So we're getting 17% now, not a paltry sum. And very in tune with other things. For instance, town-county taxes, you don't pay your taxes late. Dawn knows this by heart. The first month's March, or the first month that you're late, March, you get a 2%, and it's 1% a month after that, which comes to, if you pay 12 months, because you're starting in March, you can't pay 12 months, because at December 31st, they trip you over to the next year. But it would be roughly 15%. 2%, 12%, amortized would come to 13, you're about 15%. That's what the county charges. Now, which in this law is 10% a month. Now, I just did some 5th grade math, multiplication and addition. In fact, I once did this in a program that became an app for an Android phone. If you do 10% and compound it, do you know what the annual interest rate you're thinking of charging is on this bill? 235%. And I'll show you the math. If you take a calculator at home, or if you go to an online site and say, what does this amortize out to? What does this 10% a month compound out to? It's 235%. And if you guys want to see it, I can show it to you. This is just simple math. This is multiplying and then adding. Times 0.1 is 10%, right? You times 0.1, that's getting, anyway, 235% yearly APR. Now, I think that is usury. But if you ask somebody at the Public Works Commission, is 10% usury? Well, of course they're going to say no. Even straight 10% times 12 gets you 120. But this is compounded. It's the way the words are written in the law on page, 8. So, next, it also says, not you may, you might, you could, you have the discretion to. It says you shall turn off somebody's water after 60 days. That's it. No leeway for winter. If you shut somebody's water off in winter, you are shutting off their heat. There are already state laws against this. So this water law contradicts state law in many places. I think it's structurally flawed. But it says you shall shut off that water at $150. Now, if you follow that path, amortizing it 10% per month, add in $150 at the end of the second month, do you know what interest rate that comes to? 1,266%. Last time I checked, only guys named Nickel Nunzio charge interest rates like that. I'm Italian, so I can say that. That means that initial $40 bill, if they didn't pay it for the whole year, would come to $506.40. Oh my God. Now, not that anybody, and you know what I found out by talking to the people, the reason they don't pay it, it's not that people aren't paying late. The reason people pay it and put it into their taxes, because it becomes part of their escrow. It becomes part of their mortgage payment. So it's not a bill out of pocket. So it's folded into all of that. So it becomes easier for them. It's not something they have to take cash out of their checking account for. It's all rolled into their mortgage payment. And when you roll in the $8,000 or whatever they pay in property taxes, it doesn't seem that much. They do it out of convenience, and they do it to put that payment in a different category. It switches the boxes. Now that payment is, instead of being over here, it's over there. Okay, so we have a minimum of 235% interest rate. If you just do the simple 5th grade math, which I know you can all do. I'm not being vindictive in that. My point is, you didn't bother to do it. It took me 15 minutes at the kitchen table to do this. You need to double check things. You need to not assume everything a consultant or a lawyer gives you is accurate. You need to do the math yourself. Okay, so all those interest rates, 235. And the other big issue, I just want to hit this one again. There is no caveat. It just says after 60 days you shall, and Darlene Reamer was going to come because she had a health issue. Because shall in the legalese of writing town laws means must, absolutely, no wiggle room at all. You can't say, oh, well, he has a hard time, we're not going to do it for him. You must. Because it's not what people say they think the law means, it's what the words say. And so if, let's say they didn't pay their 3rd quarter bill, which would have been due September 30th. So now October goes by. So now it's November 1st. The interest starts accruing. Now another month, so they're 1 month late. The 2nd month late now is December 1st. You're shutting their water off. You are in effect shutting their heat off. Now I had somebody say to me that didn't happen at for me, but then I found out it was a business. NYSEG will not turn off your electricity between October 15th and I forget if it's April or May, the end of the heating season, because you'll freeze to death in your home. I don't, to overturn this law, I don't even need to hire a lawyer. I just need to call the New York State Public Utility Commission the very next day, and they'll strike this down. This law has many, and this is just, I have limited time, but there are many other structural defects. And I'll just say one other thing for the edification of the public. It's a solution for a problem we do not have. Last year, the water district ran a surplus. We have never run a deficit. In fact, that 17% we collect on the people who pay at the end of the year, that's probably the amount of our surplus. We should be happy. It's bringing more money into the coffers. And then finally, sorry, I lost my place of thought. So there's that interest rate, shutting the water off. So we've never been behind. Marco's never had a problem getting work done. Nobody's ever denied him access or service. And this automatic access thing to the meter, I mean, NYSEG has that, but the meters are on the outside of the house. Obviously, water meters need to be inside where they're heated. But this sort of, if he knocks on the door, you have to let him in. No appointment making, no nothing like that. And also, if you shut their water off, which de facto shuts their heat off, you're going to be destroying your own water meter when it freezes solid and cracks. So there are a lot of things. I mean, they said they worked this for 5 years, which isn't true. This came up just before Victoria took office. We had that water meeting right in this room when the last few months of Bill's term, I think October. And that's when I first heard about it. So it's been 2 years. And I'd say, and with no disrespect to anybody, maybe this thing just needs to percolate another year or two. Because, like I said, I don't have the time here, but there are constitutional defects. You defy state law. I just don't see how this can stand. I think voting for this sets you up. I do have a free legal aid counsel that will help me with this, but I already told them I don't even need that help. All I have to do is call the New York State Public Utility Commission, and they'll strike this down. You'll be embarrassed. I don't want you to be embarrassed. I mean, I don't want the law, But really, this needs more work. It's a cake. It's not done. You need to put it back in the oven for 15 more minutes. You really shouldn't vote yes for this law tonight. It is a solution for a problem we do not have. Thank you very much.
Is there any other public comment?
Well,
Good evening, folks. Good evening, council.
And you are?
I am Mr. William Singleton from 5315 Route 44, Amenia, New York. Thank you. Beautiful place. Just to piggyback off the comments the speaker before me made, two particular points, well, three actually. One, we do need to have a sense of, be careful of what we're putting in place when we make laws. To make the laws is easy. The repercussions of those laws and to undo them is harder. So I would encourage you, I would appeal to you to, if this map has any validity, to double check it. I don't know about you, but I work hard for my tax dollars, and I would like to spend only the ones that we necessarily need to spend. He also brings up the point where are we creating a law or a situation for a situation that doesn't exist. I found that it's never good when the tail wags the dog, bites the opposite way. Often when people try to find a solution for a problem that doesn't exist, what they end up enacting is much more terrible than what they initially found.
Excuse me, what situation doesn't exist?
I'm saying the situation that you're enacting the law for, as far as in setting this law in effect to oppose penalties for in regards to the water use. That's what we're here to discuss, is it not?
It's actually penalties for people not paying for the
Right.
use of their water and not paying their bill in a timely manner,
Correct.
which is, last year there was over $16,000 that we did not collect as revenue because people in the water district did not pay their bill timely. When that money goes on re-levy, it isn't able to be used during the year to offset expenses.
I understand that. Also understand that there's legal remedies to fix that are already in place. Well, I believe we have a town lawyer. I believe that there's existing statutes that can already cover that. Do we need to make a new law to do so is the question. To do something that there's already remedies for. You have lawyers who, hey, file suit, take reclamation action against people who do not pay their bills, and I would hope that we're doing that. If we're spending $15,000 for a kitchen, then I can't see where a $16,000 in unreclaimed funds requires us to make a new law. The last point I would like to make is, which I do have a very serious problem with, as someone who's a protector of liberties, is a automatic somebody having access to my house. I am very staunch against that. I believe in life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and in the sanctity of my property. Somebody should have to make an appointment. I'm not saying to restrict them from having access to a water meter, but just knock on the door and you get to roll into my house. I don't think any of you on the council would agree with that or like somebody to be able to do that, and I certainly don't
Actually,
like
that
mine.
isn't the intent. If you have a meter that isn't working, you are sent a letter
Okay.
telling you that, someone needs access
Okay.
to the meter to check it,
Okay.
replace it, whatever. We do have people in the water district who chronically ignore these letters
Okay.
and have not allowed someone on their property to fix not one meter and sometimes 2 meters.
Once
So
again,
that has been a problem.
Once again, you're talking about a situation that already has a remedy for it. Just like a tenant who's renting from, a landlord has the ability to access that rental property for the safety, welfare, and comfort of his or her property and for everybody in it.
Well,
But
in this
even-
instance, it's for them to pay their fair share.
Even that person cannot just enter into that person's residence whenever they want, because they have not done something. Even if they have not paid their rent, they have to, that landlord has to go through an eviction proceeding. Right. So there's a remedy for what you're talking about by making another law. If they're not, if they, it's the old adage, if they're ignoring the law to begin with, which is pay your bills, pay your debts, what are we making more laws for? Like I said, it's no offense against the law or the council or the people who made it, but I've become very wary of making laws just for the sake of making laws. If the laws you already got are not fixing the problem, then why make another law? There's a law against killing people. Murder happens every day. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? I make a
Victoria,
motion.
let me just,
Oh,
for a
did you wanna
moment, I'd
say
like to
something?
address, some of the comments, the
Okay.
response. First of all, I did the research regarding the Public Service Commission, and I, in fact, spoke with their office. A town water district is not subject to the regulation under that law. And specifically, the town law, Section 711, this is of the state of New York, states that a town board of trustees may enforce compliance with its ordinances, rules, and regulations for the use of water in a water district by cutting off the water supply. The town board also may provide by ordinance resolution for the cutting off of the supply of water if water charges are not paid within 60 days from the due date. The statute specifically authorizes the 10% charge. I did speak with an attorney at the Association of Towns today, and she was able to locate an opinion of the state controller addressing this issue. I think that the Section 198 3D pertaining to the penalty is a bit vague. It says that the water district or the town board can impose the penalty not exceeding 10%, and it doesn't give the period of time over which that would be computed. But the opinion of the state controller, they were asked to interpret that section of the law. And in their opinion, they said that 198 3D limits the amount of the penalty which may be imposed for non-payment of water rents to no more than 10% of the amount of the unpaid water rent. And they went on to say they interpret it as authorizing a one-time charge of the amount not to exceed 10% of the unpaid water rent. So based upon that, if the town is billing quarterly, I think you would be limited to the 10% on a quarterly basis instead of on the monthly basis. And that would obviously apply if you have another quarter where the bill is not paid, then you're going to have the 10% on the billing for that period.
But it wouldn't be monthly.
Can I speak? She's kind of directing.
If you're up at the
I
podium.
can't even know. Okay, I just want.
We haven't closed the hearing yet.
Okay, no. So then, if that was 10% per quarter, let's do the flat rate bill we got for 40% bill. So 10% is $4. So you're saying only then 10% per quarter, so 4, 8, right, 12, 16. We'll leave out whether it's compounded or not. I think it is, but that's a minor issue. But that's radically different than 10% per month, which is what's written in this bill. So you're kind of, if I catch you right, Denise, you're now disagreeing with the text of the bill before the board now, and if the text of the bill before the board now is wrong, then you can't, then it's void. We start all over again. We rewrite it. We have a new public hearing. That's the procedure. We don't pass this and then tweak it later. That's not how it works.
We
That's-
haven't
not
even
the
voted on
intent.
it yet.
Right, but I'm saying, well, if you did after the public hearing, I have to comment on what might happen after the public hearing, because at that point, I have no voice. So in a
there'll be a
way, you just
discussion.
kind of said that the bill as it stands is deficient and goes against state recommendations.
The issue is being
It's
addressed at the
interpretation.
town board. The town board can have a discussion about that and make a decision if it's going to be revised. And if that's what's going to happen, certainly the board can elect to hold the public hearing open until the next meeting, do the revision. It'll be put on file with the town clerk so the public can review it, and then the public
Okay.
hearing would continue at the next meeting for any comments regarding the revision.
Okay, which would stop any vote tonight. It would just be, we'll put it in abeyance. Yes, you hold public hearings open all the time. You're correct. That would be legal. I just think I even have I'm not bragging or anything, but I'm just saying, even Denise is now saying, well, there might be a structural problem here. So it's not just me. Maybe
Actually-
this-
What I'm
Actually,
saying is,
we got another opinion.
I researched the law. There are no cases that I have found interpreting this statute, no case law. I contacted the Association of Towns, and she researched the comptroller opinions, and she found an interpretation by the state comptroller's office. It's not a court decision. So the way they interpreted the statute, because I think there is some ambiguity there, they've interpreted it as being a 10% charge on the billing for that period of time. So I spoke with Victoria just before the meeting, and we can address it at the meeting. The board can make a decision on that.
Okay.
on revising.
Can I just ask you one, just to work together and in the spirit of, working together? Because interest rates, it's just hard when you do this monthly thing or quarterly. Interest rates in banking, on mortgages, on your credit card, interest rates are always, always, always. The norm is to describe them at their yearly rate. Everybody knows how to then divide by 12 and get the monthly rate. So if we could just discuss it at the yearly rate, because I'm afraid maybe somebody you're asking at the Comptroller's Office or Department of State is thinking, well, if that's their quarterly, if it's quarterly, they're thinking 40%. If they're thinking it's yearly, then divide that by 12. They're thinking that's nothing, that's 0.8 or 9. So if we could just, it's easier if we all, if you're speaking French and I'm speaking Spanish and somebody else is speaking German, it's hard to translate. So if we all use the standard of referring to interest rates in their normal APR, right? You always see that, right? Annual percentage rate. If we always refer to it at an annualized rate, then we'll all be speaking the same language, and then there won't be all this confusion, and everybody
Well-
can divide by 12 later on.
We discussed this at prior meetings, and I read the statute
I remember.
to the board at that time, and it says not exceeding 10%. It doesn't give the specific time period in the statute, and, that perhaps results in some ambiguity about
Right, well-
what was the intent of the legislature in adopting that law.
Right, because 10% a month becomes, if you do the math, 235% annual interest rate, and 10% a year actually hurts us. We'll make less. That only comes to, because we're making 17% now. So you might want to drop the 10% altogether if it's an annual rate. So we really need to nail that down. That's a huge difference. If it's 10% per annum, we're actually lowering our late fee charges, not increasing them. If it's, right, because now we're paying 17% per annum with the 4% a quarter. So I just think
But that's not what the opinion said. The opinion said not exceeding 10% per period of billing.
And the periods-
That's the way the comptroller's office has interpreted it.
And you said the period's indeterminate. They didn't say what the period was.
I said the law didn't say the specific period.
Okay,
The
so-
town law.
but we have an
There's a difference
indeterminate period.
between the town law and an interpretation in an opinion by the state controller. They're two different things.
I think what we need to do is to follow the interpretation of the state controller. So that's why we talked about continuing the public hearing and making sure that we get the narrative in the law exactly right.
Okay, is that what you're thinking of doing?
Yes.
Victoria? I'm very happy with that then. Because I'd only just point out, whether it's the state controller or the law or whomever, it does seem to me, I'm not disagreeing with you, Denise, it does seem, from what she's saying, there is some ambiguity of what the time period is. And if an interest rate is a month, or if that same interest rate is a year, that's a massive difference. I'm just saying, let's nail it down. I might have misstated who said the time period, but obviously there's some time period issues, which changes everything. And I think if you will extend the period, it leaves everybody, and if we could then get the copies that'll then be brought up before the next public hearing easily and readily, then there's no problem. Thank you very much for that. Come on, no came here from the Board of Bills.
So at this point, we need to make a motion to continue the public hearing until November 19th.
You can do that after you exit the public hearing.
To
You're still in the public hearing.
But we have to exit this one and then vote to continue?
That's how if that's what you're going to do if there's no other comments. I would
Is
ask
there
one
any
more
other
time.
comments? No? Then I make a motion to close this public hearing. Are
Well,
we
you're gonna-
closing or continuing?
Yeah, just exit it and you'll continue it at the November 19th meeting.
In a separate motion?
No, I think you can do it in
We
one.
can do it all the same in one, right? We're going to close this public hearing and
Exit.
continue it on to,
Exit, not close. You don't want to close the public hearing.
no, I want to
Okay.
exit it and continue it on to
November 19th.
November 19th. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Prody?
Yes.
And Supervisor Prody?
Yes.
I just wanted to say one thing. I'm at fault for this also. I did not read the law word by word. What I do want to do is I do want to urge the rest of the board to actually read this law word by word and,
I have.
you know, let's come up with discussions, and if we could have discussions like, you know, throughout the weeks, so we could get everybody on the same page with this. Again, I'm the first one to admit I did not read the law word for word, and it's, you know, come to terms that this is a major process, and you know, it should be taken seriously.
Well, I mean, this has been going on for the better part of the last year, and there's been draft after draft. I've
I
asked
agree.
for comments in emails.
Denise, you don't have to defend yourself, I agree.
I know, but at this point, you know, if there's specific revisions that the board wants to do in regard to the penalty, and I don't know if you want to do anything on the shut-off of water, whether that's elective or...
I mean, I honestly
mandatory.
think we should go title by title and sit down and look at it. And if we have to do that as a board, we'll do it at a workshop meeting or
That's what
something
we've
like
been
that.
doing.
If we
for the
have to
last
do
year.
it through email, well, you know, if we're going to put this behind us once and for all, it might help me if we sit down as a complete board and we discuss this and we hash this out before we bring it up for public hearing again.
I make a motion to open the public hearing for 2016 preliminary budget. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Prody?
Yes.
Supervisor Prody?
Yes. The current preliminary budget, I gave you the fire district's final approved budget. The preliminary budget does not have the final approved budget because the preliminary budget had to be handed into the town clerk before the fire commissioners completed their final budget. And the last final budget was November 3rd that we received. So right now, as the budget stands, we're $19,212 under the tax cap. We can look at the different items in the budget. What I wanted to do is to set up a budget meeting next week so we can go through line by line to see what we want to see in the actual adopted budget, which will be adopted on the 19th. Is there anyone who has any comments on the current budget? Okay, I make a motion to close the public hearing for the 2016 preliminary budget.
Second that.
And we need to have a special meeting next week sometime anyway to do interviews and could also finalize the budget at that time.
I have Wednesday off, Dawn.
Councilman Delango?
Yes. close the
Councilwoman
public
Hitzelberger? I'm sorry, I'm just,
Yes.
he was laughing at me. Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Prody? And Supervisor Prody?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted it.
Okay,
And noted that there was no public comment.
I have Wednesday off, even though it is Veterans Day. I don't know, Dawn, if you,
I have a 12:30 doctor's appointment in Poughkeepsie, 12:30. Done by 1, by 2, like 2:30, 3 o'clock, I can be back in town by.
so we could do it.
It just took me 6 months to get into that time. I'm not canceling.
We could do it earlier that day.
Or in the morning, before we go over to the Fountain Square.
I don't know Vicki, Vicki's going to be
I
tied
think I
up.
will be busy.
She'll be busy in the morning.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
mornings.
And
rough
I
for
will be
her.
working that day, so towards the end of the day would be easier for me. I will be doing the ceremony and then going back to work, and then I could come back here for a meeting as early as 5 o'clock. That would be
I
fine.
mean, I'm working that day also.
Does 5 work for you?
Does
or
5
later?
work for you?
I mean, I can make 5 work. Steve, you working that day?
Yes, I am. Monday to Friday.
Are you
Does
done?
5 work for you?
It could.
Since I just want to note, I haven't started my report yet, but we have 9 people to interview.
Oh,
So
well,
if
5
you want to,
o'clock is
We
probably...
do it at 5.
I mean, that's if the candidates are
Stephen, does
available.
that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just so you guys know.
So we'll set it up for 5 o'clock on Wednesday, the 11th.
So that's the budget and interviews, or is that?
Yes.
Okay.
If we,
What are the interviews for?
Everything.
do you want me to jump my
She'll give you the
report?
list.
No, you don't need to jump ahead.
Okay, I need to make a motion. Are we to return to regular meeting?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Prody?
Yes.
And Supervisor Prody?
Yes. Is there any additional public comment from anyone? No? Okay, supervisors report. I went to the Wassaic Fire Commissioners' public hearing at 7 o'clock on October 20th for a presentation of their preliminary budget, which was $308,250,000. There was much discussion about providing ambulance service and the decision to contract with an ambulance service provider at a cost of $500,000, which was for an ambulance with a paramedic providing both BLS and ALS services for 24 hours. In addition, the company chosen was not going to bill the patient's insurance. Okay? I told them I would facilitate an EMS workshop presented by the Dutchess County Department of Emergency Response, Commissioner Dana Smith. That workshop was held in the Town Hall Meeting Room on October 29th at 7 p.m. The meeting was attended by Amenia and Wassaic Fire Commissioners, Amenia Rescue Squad, Captain and other members, Amenia and Wassaic Fire Chiefs and other officers, Lenny Morrison from Dutchess County Emergency Response, and he's also from the Town of Northeast, Town of Dover Fire Chief and Town Board member. I asked Dover Plains to come because their ambulance service, which is a paid service, has been covering some of the calls that to Tally Ho and other areas at that end of the town through mutual aid. As the Wassaic ambulance did not have people available to answer some of the calls. Both Wassaic and Amenia agreed to
form subcommittees consisting of 4 people to discuss with their respective companies possible solutions going forward. Commissioner Dana Smith spoke about ambulance districts and the different ways they can be set up. Ambulance district is a district that would be another taxing entity on your tax bill. So it'd be in addition to, whether you were in the Amenia Fire District or the Wassaic Fire District, there would be a Town of Amenia ambulance district, potentially. I mean, none of that has been decided yet, because right now we're in fact-finding to see what the best solution is going to be to this problem. Commissioner Dana Smith, he talked about ambulance districts and the different ways they can be set up, because they can be set up to use your existing EMTs as volunteers instead of just going to a 24-hour paid service. In addition, he offered the Dutchess County Emergency Response will provide any and all information that Amenia, Wassaic, and the town board would require in order to set up an ambulance district if that is what the town wants to do. Other options are joint ventures between towns with intermunicipal agreements. Going forward, there will be additional EMS workshops to discuss the viable options. An ambulance district cannot be set up without a proposed district boundaries and a plan of services and changes. The workshops will provide a venue to get the information required to make decisions. Just wanted to make sure that you knew an ambulance district is a taxing district, and essentially, if we should go that route, it has to be approved by the Comptroller's office. So going forward, they decided to set up subgroups, both Wassaic and Amenia. They're going to have 2 committees of 4 people on each committee. They're meeting with their individual companies and commissioners and talking about what would be, options for a plan going forward. And then they're going to come to another workshop that the Dutchess County Emergency Response will be having here. This is a big issue. It's one that's going to take a lot of time and a lot of research to see how we can take care of this problem. The Old Amenia landfill, the town of Sharon had the Old Amenia landfill site mowed. The DEC is reviewing the final draft of the site management plan and has not officially deemed the project closed. Kimberly Ray, our environmental attorney, is working on the municipal agreement with the town of Sharon, in addition to preparing RFPs to go out to reputable companies who have experience doing the annual testing and DEC reports that are required as part of the post-monitoring of the site. These companies will be paid by the town of Sharon under the consent order stating that they have to do all the maintaining of the site once the project is deemed complete. Our Holiday of Lights is December 12th. We are looking for a Citizen of the Year recommendations. We need one for Wassaic and one for Amenia. If you have someone in mind you think would be deserving of these honors, please send it to the town hall, either to the town clerk or to the supervisor's office.
Is there a due date on that for the Citizens of the Year?
Well, as long as we have them before the Holiday of Lights.
A week before would be ideal.
Week before would be good.
And we actually have to vote on it, right, as a town board? So I would say at
December
the
5th.
December 5th meeting, we should be
So 12/5.
considering those.
December 3rd, maybe.
A third?
Yeah.
December 3rd would be your meeting.
Thank you.
Town clerk report.
Can you take one and pass it down? The packet, pass it down.
Okay, I
Just like school.
I've been out of school for a long time.
Town clerk's report is starting off with music.
The little jazz
All right,
to get
thank
us
you,
started.
Amenia voters. Take that quick moment of opportunity. As I prepare this evening's report, the monthly share has been remitted to the supervisor in the amount of $195. The minutes of October 15th have been circulated to the board. Is the board ready to vote on those?
I am not. Apologize.
Okay, so then they will go off to your November 19th meeting. If everybody could read those for the 19th. This morning, I've in receipt of the resignation from Jen Janes, the bank reconciliation clerk for the town clerk's office and the supervisor's office. Looking to accept that.
Make a motion to accept with regret, accept the resignation of Jennifer Janes as the bank reconciliation clerk, effective immediately.
Second.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Prody?
Yes.
And Supervisor Prody.
Yes.
And with that, I'll need a motion to authorize the town clerk to advertise for the bank reconciliation clerk for the supervisor's office.
Make that motion.
Second.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Prody?
Yes.
And Supervisor Prody.
Yes.
Also this evening, I've dispersed the list of volunteers that I've received. I'm indicating their terms as well. Board of Assessment Review, Planning Board, CAC, Enhancement, Fountain Square, Planning Board, ZBA, and Recreation. We've received applications for all of those. Ethics, we still have an open seat beginning 1/1/2016, expiring on December 31st, 2020. I did have the opportunity to speak with George Mudge today. He's informed me that he's served his 2 5-year terms as a member of the ethics and as sitting chairman. He wants to go ahead and abide by their rules and regs of the Board of Ethics, that there are term limits set, and he's met both of those term limits, so he will not be submitting his letter of interest to remain. So at this time, the town clerk's office is now going to have to re-advertise for ethics. So with that, there's 9 applicants, and that's where I was talking. So we'll be calling all of the applicants for interviews on 11/11, beginning at 5 o'clock. And that night, I'll let everybody know if we need another night or something.
Regarding the kitchen committee, I received an email regarding attendance of one of the members. Bill Flood has missed 5 meetings and 6 meetings, and there was correspondence sent to him asking him if he is still interested in serving on the committee, and there's been no response. So I'd like to make a motion to remove him from the committee so that there is an opening.
Did anybody speak to him?
He hasn't come for 5 meetings. Yes, and they sent an email to him, asked
Well,
if
they
he's
sent an email.
interested.
Did anybody speak to him?
And there is no response. No, because he didn't answer the email.
Maybe he's not getting the email. I would recommend that someone give him a call or knock on his door and say, hey, what's up?
I don't,
He's a contractor with valuable information that can help the committee, and that's why I recommend that.
he hasn't been to 5 meetings,
If you have to show up to give your expertise.
I don't think.
Well, it's not like it's the PBA or the planning board or the ZBA, so the attendance rules don't apply there.
Just for the record, he did not complete his oath of office.
Yeah,
Just
I make a motion to remove Bill Flood from the kitchen committee so we can add a member who will come. Is there a second?
I'm happy to give him a call tonight. or tomorrow if it's too late tonight.
Okay.
Okay. Also, I've distributed this evening bid specs for the snow removal.
Is this what you did? Went over with me?
Denise, you were supposed to reach out to your friend with the sidewalks? You said you
I
knew a
haven't-
contractor?
yeah, I haven't gotten a contract from them,
Yeah, you haven't gotten anything on it yet?
no.
I'd be interested in talking about this in executive session, if anybody else would be interested in that solution.
And what solution?
I think our liability as in regards to providing snow removal on private property. You know, where the sidewalks are contiguous to private property.
So you want to talk about this in executive session?
Yeah. I would
Well, the
be-
bid specs has optional pricing. You don't have to accept the bid on anything that's optional,
Mhm. Well, it seems a little,
but we do
if we
need,
could get a clear sense of what we, as a board, would like to do and need to do to achieve our goals and minimize our risk for liability. I think it would be easier for a contractor to make a bid that makes sense, but that's just me. Happy to hear anybody else, but I feel like I need more legal advice on this. I know you've provided quite a bit, Denise, so
as
that's
it,
helpful.
it does say optional pricing. We do need someone to do the work for the town hall.
Mhm. That would
So-
understand, yeah,
So it says optional.
okay.
It doesn't say we have to accept any bids that, under the optional part.
Okay.
So if we want to have discussion on that, we can. But, you know, we need to,
If you're ready
we've
to
been
do it,
talking about this
yeah.
and we need to, it's getting later in the season. I don't know how much longer you want to wait before we send something out. If you want to send anything out at all, but we do need someone to do here in the town property.
So you made a motion to accept the bids as written? Or do you need a, you know?
Well, it says,
If
you
I'm the
know,
only one
it
who-
does say optional pricing. It doesn't mean that, you know, we'll see what the pricing is and we
Mhm.
can
Okay, I'll make a motion that we
decide to do that or not.
go ahead and advertise the specs as written for removal of snow in Amenia.
A second.
Councilman Delango?
No.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
No.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes?
Councilman Perotti?
Yes.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
This evening, there's also a resolution in your packets for Cablevision. Resolution number 41, a resolution approving the change of indirect control of franchise under the cable television franchise.
Yeah, I wanted to read the letter so that people understand what is going on here. This isn't something that we chose to do. The Dear Supervisor Perotti, I'm writing to you on behalf of Altice, A-L-T-I-C-E, and Cablevision Systems Corporation. As you may have heard, on September 16, 2015, Altice and Cablevision entered into a definitive merger agreement whereby Altice will acquire Cablevision, whose subsidiary, the franchisee, currently holds a franchise to offer service in your community. This transaction, which is the result of a merger of Altice and the parent corporation of the franchisee, will upon closing result in a change of ultimate control over the franchisee in your community. The franchise and the franchisee will remain the same. We expect the transaction to close in the first half of 2016. Pursuant to the terms of the franchise between the franchisee and your community, we are required to obtain your consent for a change of control. For that purpose, and in accordance with the Federal Communications Commission rules, we have enclosed for your review an original and 2 copies of the FCC-specified Form 394. The Form 394 and its attachments are designed to provide you with all of the information necessary to assess the financial, legal, and technical capabilities of Altice with regard to the operations of the franchise. We're also including a draft consent resolution for your consideration. Over the last decade, Altice has established itself as a premier global provider of video, phone, and internet service with a reputation for providing excellent customer service. Like Cablevision, Altice has invested heavily in upgrading its facilities to keep its customers at the forefront of new communications technologies. As part of this transaction, Altice has no current plans to change the terms and conditions of service or operations of the cable system in your community. Upon completion, Altice will combine its resources and operational expertise with Cablevision's knowledge of the local cable marketplace to build upon the successes of Cablevision and further enhance the customer experience in your community. More detail on the benefits of the transaction are set out in the public interest statement that was included with the company's FCC filing and is included in the package of information that we have provided to you. We appreciate your attention to this important matter and hope to secure your consent promptly so as to facilitate a quick close to the transaction. I look forward to working with you and urge you to contact me with any questions, comments, and concerns at your earliest convenience. And that's from Dana House Cable System. In addition, there is also a footnote to this. Pursuant to Section 617 of the Federal Cable Act, if you choose to take no action on our request for consent to transfer control of the franchisee, your consent will be deemed granted after 120 days. So this resolution is for us to go ahead and approve the change of control. If everyone is agreeable, we should go ahead and do this. Because whether we do or we don't, it's going to go through anyway. So we might as well be cooperative,
proactive,
and hope, and hope they'll.
So our choice is yes or yes. That's
Pretty
it.
much,
Well,
that's it.
I mean, I just want to make a comment on this. You know, they've forwarded this proposed resolution, which has, in the whereas paragraphs, quite a few representations that I don't know the background of this. I don't have the documentation on it. And it's saying that the franchise authority, which is defined as being the town, you've reviewed the application, followed all required procedures, considered the comments of all interested parties, and concluded that the acquirer has the legal, financial, and technical qualifications of the acquirer to indirectly control the franchisee. I think these representations go far beyond, what is
But
really within
there's
the
really
knowledge
no
of
choice.
the board. Well, the choice is if you don't, then it happens automatically, within this 120 days. But, I'm just saying there's a lot of representations in here that I certainly do not have the background and the substantiating documentation on it.
Well, there are a book that, with all that information that I gave to Dawn with the original signatures on the 694, so you can look at that, but there's really we really don't have an option here. So do we do the resolution, or we do allow it to just go into effect in 220 days? What's your pleasure?
Well, the other thing is this may be their suggested resolution. It
Right.
doesn't
We could
necessarily mean it's the
strike some of
resolution.
that language.
You have to
For
do.
instance, I mean, have we considered all of the comments of interested parties? If this is the first we're hearing about it and, nobody's really had a chance to comment, I don't know that we have any public comment or if that would make any difference, but
They have to do the public comment.
And we cannot amend the resolution.
you can't.
No.
Page 2.
Oh, you can't
Section
amend
3.
their particular? So we could write our own. And,
Or do nothing, and it'll go into effect anyway. So what do you want to do? We can write our own, but they would have to approve whatever we wrote. So do we want to go that route? Make them jump through hoops that we're going to lose anyway? So do you want to just take no action or take action? Because it's going to happen either way.
We may have a comment from the audience, if you choose to acknowledge it.
Do you want to say something?
If you could step to the podium.
Well, sorry, the public can't hear
To
you.
me, I understand what you're saying, that it's going to go into effect anyway, but it would seem to me, if you make the resolution and you vote on it, and you go with it, then, and you really don't understand it, then you're basically signing your name on the check that they wrote. Even if you just say don't vote on it and it goes into effect 120 days later, at least you didn't make a resolution agreeing with what they wrote in that document.
Well, that's why I'm asking what the board wants to do, because it's not my decision. Do you want to just let it go into effect and not do this resolution?
I have no problem just letting it go into effect. They've already made their decision of what they're gonna do. We have really no control over what they do.
You should just take a vote on it, and
Okay.
I think that's basically it.
So we could take a vote on whether to pass the resolution or not pass the resolution. Because
Sure,
basically,
you could do that.
Wanna do that?
we need to do one or the other. What number is it?
Resolution 41. So
Resolution approving the change of indirect control of the franchisee under the cable television franchise. Whereas Cablevision System Dutchess Corporation owns, operates, and maintains a cable television system in the town of Amenia, New York pursuant to a cable television franchise granted by the governing body of the town of Amenia, and franchisee is the current duly authorized holder of the franchise. Whereas pursuant to an agreement and plan of merger, Neptune Mergers Subcorp, a Delaware corporation, subsidiary of Altice NV, will merge with Cablevision Systems, which owns 100% of the ownership interest in franchisee. And as a result, the indirect control of franchisee will change of control. Whereas a franchisee and acquirer have requested the consent of the franchise authority to the change of control in accordance with the requirements of the franchise and have filed an FCC Form 394 with the franchise authority. And whereas the franchise authority has reviewed the application, followed our required procedures in order to consider and act upon the application, considered the comments of all interested party, and concluded that acquirer has the legal, financial, and technical qualifications of acquirer to indirectly control franchise. Now therefore be resolved, Section 1, the franchise authority hereby accepts the application, consents to the change of control, all in accordance with the terms of the franchise and applicable law. Section 2, subject to compliance with the terms of the resolution, any action necessary with respect to the change of control has been duly and validly taken. Section 3, the resolution shall be deemed effective as to the date of its passage. The resolution shall have the force of a continuing agreement with franchisee and acquirer, and franchise authority shall not amend or otherwise alter this resolution without the consent of the franchisee and acquirer. Be it further resolved that the supervisor be hereby authorized to approve change of indirect control of the franchisee under the cable television franchise. I make that motion.
I'll second it.
Supervisor Perotti?
No.
Councilwoman Doyle?
No.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
No, I don't believe in their financial or technical qualifications.
Councilman Perotti? Councilman Delango?
No.
Motion fails. Okay, almost done. I would like to take the opportunity to thank 3 of our residents who have made communications with me via the telephone and via email in regards to our website. Gretchen and I have since made communications. I've sent an email out to every single one of the town employees and all of our department chairs asking them to provide me with updated information for their sections of the website. And Gretchen and I will be getting together and implementing all of the changes. And I truly thank those individuals for bringing it to my attention that there were some areas that needed to be tweaked, and we'll continue to work on that to see that it's constantly updated. Since our next meeting is going to be November 19th, just as a friendly reminder, Amenia Fire Company is hosting their pancake breakfast on the third Sunday, November 15th. And beginning this Saturday, the winter market has moved back into the town hall. So every day, this building is active with either young children or adults roaming the building. And please stop by the town hall and participate in some of our activities. That concludes my report this evening.
And, I think we have a building report. Please find October's monthly report for the building department as building permits go. We have issued 11 new building permits totaling $1,891.60 and 1 renewal permit of $175. We are continuing with certificate of occupancy searches. And for this month, we did 5 searches, which totals $500. The total for the month is $2,566.66. Are there any other committee reports?
CAC met last week, I guess it was. Let's see. And they discussed the proposed composting, and that's going to be a continuing, ongoing interest of theirs. They would like to be considered an interested party for the SECRA findings on that project, that proposed zoning amendment change. They also discussed the status of the monopole that is being proposed in 3 places in Wassaic. One, it appears that the SBA pole on Kent Road is being asking once again, or coming back to the ZBA to be asking for a zoning waiver for their pole there. And then there's another one proposed at ARC that's a new, but we haven't had a formal proposal yet, but there is another possibility from Homeland Towers that where ARC is, and Bob Barlow's shop, right behind the shop, is a tower that is being considered for a 120-foot tower. It's about 1,800 feet just south of the monopole that's been proposed at the Wassaic train station by MTA. So it's a very close proximity right alongside Route 22 and theoretically covers the same area. So the CAC looked at different simulations and considered it was about 60 feet higher than what was proposed at MTA, so, and the fact that it's got a ridge backing it, it would be on the westerly side of Route 22. That if you were talking about 2 monopoles within 1,800 feet along Route 22, that we'd prefer there would be only one. So that's their thought that, but the visibility at either site was about the same difference. It was analyzed for free by George Janes, who's our visual analysis expert, and by Ron Grafe. And Ron felt it was a very viable site, the one at the ARC/Bob Barlow's property. It would provide coverage for the same area that's tricky because of the difficult topography that is right near that rock cut. And so hopefully one or the other would be necessary and theoretically not both. So we hope that they are consolidated. Whatever is built there, we should not have more poles than necessary. We talked about also Silo Ridge and the impact on the groundwater potential for the well tests and well pump tests, and whether or not that would, in the process of actually developing out, whether that would have any impact on water quality of streams, stream flows going downstream to Wasaig, and whether or not that would affect the quantity as well for groundwater. We are focusing right now mostly on groundwater, and I think the town board got the blog that they had set up, and also the section of the natural resource inventory that deals with groundwater, that gives basics on how groundwater needs to be protected, and that's just one of the most important resources that we have. And I think, Gretchen, you'd asked where the blog had originated.
Yeah, David said that he set it up, and it was from 2009.
Okay, very good. There's very good information on that. If the public wants to see that, maybe there's links or something that could be done to that, or to our natural resource
We
inventory.
put a link in it, and when you get the CAC minutes in, we can include that.
Sorry, the CAC what?
Minutes.
Minutes.
When you get them in, we
So
can
the
put 'em in
minutes
there.
we sent, but I don't know why they're not on the website.
Because he has to send the rest of them.
How many, we have to send all of the minutes to have anything posted?
Well, no, but the minutes that we've sent, there's like 2, I mean, and then the one that you handed me here. So once I get them all, I mean, in the email that Mike sent, that he was
You
going to
need
send
all
them.
of them in order to post any of them.
No, but you're going to want to have at least the ones working up to, I mean, I got the 2. So we're going to need to have, we forward them over and we make a little link. CAC is going to have its own section. Dave's getting me more information as well. So we're going to be revamping CAC as a whole. So anything that you're going to want to put up, this is a great time now that we're working on this page.
Right.
I know he wants to send me other links. So when he came in the day I sent out the email, he said that he was going to be sent. He asked if he can send a bunch of things. I said absolutely, but it has to be in email format, so that way I can send them direct over to Gretchen.
Okay. Well,
'Cause if
we would
not,
like
I'm
to
not
at
gonna
least
sit there and
have
scan them.
the minutes that we have sent in digital formats. I think that should go in as soon as possible.
Shoot them over, I'll put them up. We'll just put them in, do they have a document section yet? Well, if they don't, we'll make one.
It's
They
just
have-
a
We'll just put 'em
non-hot
in,
link.
They have a page, but it's not,
We'll just make them a folder in documents.
because David and I had a long conversation, so I think
Yeah, kitchen
he
committee's
knew
the
the
same way,
vision.
they only have their
just the minutes.
documents folder yet. But we'll get them a page when they get it.
We also have a meeting set for the Fountain Square Committee, and that will be on November 17th. Thank you for providing that. At 5:30 here at Town Hall. If anybody wants to attend, they're welcome to do so. That's all I have.
Okay, I have minutes from the last Water Committee meeting on October 14th. So the controls for wells 4 and 4A were replaced with the controls taken from well number 1. It also mentions the public hearing that took place today. And then a letter dated September 5th, addressed to Supervisor Brody from the Department of Health, was received, giving the Water District a waiver from having to sample specific organic contaminants based on Group 1 and 2. The waiver expires on December 31st, 2018. Next year, there would be a 3% tax reduction for the people in the Water District. It's pretty much that in the preliminary budget right now. Their goals for 2016: redesign the water bill so it's easier to read, decommission well number 1, and replace the controls for wells number 4, 4A, 5, and 6. And the following vouchers were approved: for USA Blue Book, $329.23, Suburban Propane, $76, and SCBI, $2,530, for a total of $2,935.23. Is there any other committee reports?
Just to follow up on the Water Committee, the next scheduled meeting for them is January 13th at 5:30. Victoria, will you be sending a copy of the letter from the Department of Health to the board? I don't recall seeing that.
I can go find that.
Thank you.
I thought it had been, but maybe not.
What time are the water committee meetings?
5:30.
5 o'clock.
They're early.
5 o'clock? Okay. And they're held here at the water.
Usually they have them in the planning board room, and sometimes, but occasionally they will have them.
Washington
At the-
Court.
Yeah, most of the time, though,
Most
it's in
of
the
the time
planning
they're
board
here.
room. And
Okay.
I think it's 5:30, it's 5:30.
5:30?
5:30.
Okay.
Okay, NICEX streetlight request approval. I had a request, I believe from Dawn, regarding the lighting outside here. And so I asked NICEX to come. He came and he looked at it's the telephone pole directly in front of the town hall. Maybe putting a 250 watt light. It would be the same kind of light that we have in the parking lot that's facing the air, to make it lighter for people. Because there was an area on either side that it wasn't well
Kind
lit.
of dark, scary. Safety issue.
How much?
Well, they added to, that's what's attached, because with the way it's done by usage,
Burn hours.
the burn hours.
It's not done by direct usage, it's done by estimated darkness. I think it says, paragraph 2 on the first page.
And then, doesn't matter how much it costs. the safety hazard.
But I don't see a price anywhere.
Well, the billing kilowatt, he said that with the size lamp that they have on the poles in the parking lot is the 250 watt. It's on the second page, it's .313 billing kilowatts.
Well, I'd like to know how much the ongoing cost is, as well as the installation of the additional street light on the pole would cost, prior to making any decisions on whether or not we can afford to do this.
Don't they add the lamp for us? I don't think that's our cost, we just pay the ongoing.
No, we just pay the ongoing,
Energy.
whatever
The
the
energy bill.
energy bill.
And considering that it's a safety issue, I think that is the top priority.
Well, we can see, I can get the exact dollar
Considering that it
amount.
makes a difference to how much we have to budget for lighting, I think we should know how much it costs. That's all
If
I'm
you go
asking
to the,
for.
if you go to the page where it says service classification,
Yes,
he has an X next to 250 watts. It's $11.65 would be added to the lighting district bill
monthly.
monthly. So it would be part of the Amenia Lighting District. bill.
Isn't that from 2010? Wouldn't it be higher? Because the last charge on here is 2012 is 1220.
Well, he said what he said to me was the same. I mean, I can double check and make sure. Because what will happen with this is that, there will be additional charge that will go to the Amenia Lighting District.
Exactly, that's why we need to know the price, so we can properly budget.
But that's what that's why he marked off that particular one. But I can get additional information if you need it.
Yeah, safety's important, but we gotta pay for it.
ambulance service emergency, CO1 is certificate of need approval. One of the things that came up in the discussion when Commissioner Dana Smith was here was an emergency. Actually, it's not emergency, it's actually a municipal certificate of need approval. It's something that's given out by the Department of Health. I'm in the process of getting more information about it. It would be assigned to us for 2 years. It doesn't require us to do anything, but if we should have to eventually set up an ambulance district, we would be one step ahead. So as I get, he gave me the contact people in Albany to get the information, exactly what we have to do. So I just wanted to get your approval and give you the knowledge of this is something I'm looking to do. I mean, it doesn't lock us into anything, but, if we should have to form an ambulance district to pay for ambulance service under the town of Amenia, we would be set up, that would be one step out of the way. And there's no cost, or there's nothing that we're required to do if we do have this. The only town locally that currently has one is Dover Plains.
If you could get us the information on it.
Yeah, I'm still getting it,
Yeah.
so, I'll get you the information on it, so, and then as we move forward, getting more information about, the possibility of an ambulance district. So I've already given you kind of the basic information of ambulance district, but the two rescue fire groups really need to come together with one plan in order to do one under the town. With economies of scale, it would be less money to have one town-wide than it would for each fire district, because you have less calls and you have less service area. So there's a lot of things to look at, and as I, get more information, I'll give it to you, but I want to tell you, that this is something we can look at doing if this is the direction we choose to head in. But this is a problem. It's a countywide problem. It's not going to go away. One of the problems right now is that all the towns around us have gone to paid service. I mean, Dover has, Millbrook has, Northeast has, Pauling has. So it just makes it more difficult for them for mutual aid, because their taxpayers are paying for a paid service, and and if they have to come here and cover, it's they're not too happy about the prospect. So that's why we're moving ahead, having meetings and getting information to see what we need to do and what the future is for EMS ambulance service in this area. Other matters, Dave Everett sent us a resolution of intent to for us to act as a secret lead agency for the Bullafuente Yard Waste Composting Facility. And I printed out the resolution and also the consent to secret lead agency. So if this is something you want to proceed with.
I think it's kind of putting the cart before the horse. I mean, we haven't even decided whether or not we want to make a zoning changes. The board hasn't voted on it or anything. And so we would be, if we approved this, saying that we want to be lead agency for a yard waste composting facility that is not permitted in the town at this point.
Yeah,
We're supposed to
it
be
doesn't
looking-
bind you.
No, I know, but
Yeah.
we were hopefully getting word back from Mary Ann Johnson, who was reviewing our comprehensive plan and making sure that, as Joel Russell had suggested, make sure that the intent is there and that we don't have to revise the comprehensive plan and all of that before going forward with a change in amendment. It should be consistent with our plan.
I would hate to give the applicant any,
Extra costs if we didn't.
well,
really-
not
No,
just
it's
as a
not
cost. I
cost.
would hate to give them any indication that the board approves of a project that we haven't approved of. You know, he may spend thousands of dollars going in one direction, saying, okay, they said they want to be lead agency, this must be an indication that it's going to be approved. And we've said no such thing.
No,
I'm
it really
I'm
doesn't.
still actually waiting for the revised
But if we go through the secret,
petition to come in that he promised and I haven't seen.
if we start the secret though, isn't that going to give us information to make an informed decision if we're going to change the zoning law?
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't commit you to anything. It's
It
just.
doesn't start the clock ticking or anything. It's just crossing
Yeah,
off
it's
a requirement that we
Yeah.
do. But I agree that we should not feel like we are pressured into moving at a, a rate that we're not comfortable on. And it's really odd, it seems to me, that we're moving ahead so aggressively on this. But that said, this is,
But this doesn't
it doesn't bind us to anything. It's
bind us
simply
to anything.
giving the applicant an understanding that we're, moving along. But I would like to do a lot more fact-finding before we, at least understand to what degree, Mary Ann Johnson feels it is the intent of the comprehensive plan that it is consistent before moving forward.
So do you want to table this for now?
Yeah.
I think
I
we
would.
should table it.
And make a motion to table the Monte resolution
I'll
for
second it.
seeker lead agency?
I second it.
Councilman Delango?
No.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Prodi?
Yes.
Supervisor Prodi?
Yes. Another under matters, last but not least, now that Juan and Pedro have nodded off back there. We received attached for discussion, a draft of the public access easement and agreement for the Artisans Park. The planning board site plan approval for the silo project requires this easement to be approved by the town board. So the attached easement was prepared by Dave Everett at a starting point, and then the draft was shared with Silo, and their changes to the easement are shown in red line text, which I've made sure that you have all the red line text. I don't know if you've had a chance to read it, look at it.
I appreciate you printing it out. It's helpful, but I'm just going over it now. I thought we had agreed that they would be, Silo Ridge was going to maintain and do
They
the
are.
whole thing.
And that's what
Okay,
it is.
okay, all right.
Yeah, Pedro?
Yes, I think the agreement currently stipulates that we will be maintaining it full-time.
Okay.
But we have to approve the easement.
Why do we have to have an easement if you're going to,
So
Kind of
the
partial.
reason why you have an easement is to protect the town, that the general public has the ability to actually access the property, in perpetuity.
long after you go? Okay,
Correct.
right.
So that's part of the easement. So the easement, what the easement currently stipulates is, it has the general provisions where what the property is going to be used for, what we will be maintaining, hours of operation, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But ultimately, we will retain ownership of the property, and essentially we would allow the public to be able to access the property.
I mean, this just came like at the end of yesterday, so I just haven't had a chance to
No,
look at it.
we're not, Dave was the one who suggested that for the town to review, to for the town board to review it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We were really under the impression that, I think we're pretty much with most of the easements. We've received most of our approval, so our goal was to try to submit everything to the town board in the next week or so that we can discuss it at the next meeting.
Yeah, just so we have, I think the only part, the question he had was about the requirement to obtain written approvals from the parties when future approvals are required under the easement. I think the written was taken out, and I think that probably needs to stay in.
Page 4.
Yeah.
Page 4, the bottom of.
Yeah.
You guys struck written approval, and he wants it back in.
Yeah, that's the
Not a big
attorney's.
deal, right,
I don't think.
right.
So that's not a problem.
I mean, the other
I-
thing I noticed is there are certain representations, like in the findings from the planning board. I was going through that again today. And there are certain things in there that I think, we want to make sure that they're included in the
They
easement.
put more than what's in the findings. I agree with everything, because the time is of essence for us, but I
Yeah.
can tell you there's more than is on the findings. It was not supposed to be open full-time, it's open full-time. We're paying for all the expenses, which was not, so, either way. I think the only thing that I think our attorney, from what I spoke to him, was he changed the definition so it's not a park, because he was concerned about calling it a park, because that can bring other issues to the matter. So that was his main thing. The rest, I didn't really read. To the extent of we have to put in writing any approval, I have no problem with that.
It's open dawn to dusk, right? I mean, that's what it says in here.
Yeah, but year round.
But, oh, you're around, okay. There's another written approval that's struck out there.
I mean, if you don't have a problem taking out what Dave wanted, I mean, it says, the only requirement to attain written approvals was the only thing that you guys struck out. I mean, if you don't have a problem putting that back in,
I think the reason it's struck out is because he's, what's the word, is required by town law that to the extent you're making new approvals, you got to go for approval. So it's like saying you have to do it twice. But yeah, that's my guess, because I know that normally Peter Wise tends to try to make the writing clear or simple, and David tries to be a little more detailed. So that's probably what it is. So I have probably no problem with it.
Well, I'm just going to state again, this came in from Dave at the end of yesterday, and I have not had an opportunity today to look at it. So my recommendation would be that I review it, and
I mean, we're going into the same problem again with two attorneys looking at the same thing. I mean, you have a thing coming in from the attorney, he's telling us, stating to the town board of what he feels should be done. There were strikeouts and everything. Now you have to review it. Is that correct?
well, I am the attorney for the town board, Mike.
All right,
so
but I mean,
if-
it's almost like we're doing double work.
Okay, if the board wants to vote that you do not want your attorney to review it and give you any feedback, I'm happy to do that, but
I think this should be part of the executive session also.
One thing I don't
So
think
basically, all
you
we
can
need
vote
to-
on it yet until you make a decision in the findings.
yeah.
So I think what David wanted to make sure was that you guys review it today, because the rest of the agreements that the town has to review are pretty much black and white. There'll be an access agreement for stormwater prevent, to access the property for stormwater and that kind of stuff, but those are very simple. This was the one that he felt that had more public review and the board public opinion in the past, so what he thought it would be good for you folks to discuss it today, and then ultimately, assuming that the board is in a position to make a decision in the following meeting, that you guys already reviewed it and so forth. But I think the finding statement has to be approved either right before or at the same time when this happens.
Yeah.
Well, aside from what Dave said about it, the requirement to obtain written approvals from the parties for future approvals, and a few typos. And there's also the matter of the insurance amount needs to be set. But the bottom line, Vicki hasn't had a chance to review it.
Yeah, no, we understand.
So I'd like to table this till our next meeting, when the board has had a chance to review it.
Yeah, we weren't really going to take action on it tonight. It was just something to read through, and Pedro could answer any questions that we had on it. You know, it was something that, you know, we can move on to, you know, for the next meeting. But just so, I mean, you saw, you know, it's been to Silo, came back to Dave, you know, and Dave had his agreements in here. And then we can,
So you're seconding my table?
Sorry, what's that?
Is somebody
Did make a
seconding her?
motion?
She made a motion to
To
table.
table it?
sorry, second.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Perotti?
Yes.
And Supervisor Perotti.
Now, while we're on the subject, has everybody read the finding statements?
No, I've not finished it.
I mean, because we should be familiarizing ourselves with the finding statements also,
Yep.
if that's coming down the pipe.
It is.
Yeah, my understanding and hope is that we can try to resolve pretty much the matters that are with the board, hopefully at the next meeting. I think we're probably 90% there with Dave Everett. There's 2 agreements still that we have to see, but they should be pretty simple. So our hope is that we can provide by next week all the information to the town board for the review.
And the additional easements?
Yeah, there's 2 easements more. Those
Yeah,
should be
there's
pretty
2 more.
straightforward.
Those are coming in too, right?
Yeah. And then we have
And the HOA and the finding statement.
HOA, we sent it months ago.
Right, so we can
And
go
the
ahead
finding
and
statement,
move
you
on that.
received it a while ago. And DOH, we got already verbal approval from the Department of Health. So we should be having their permit soon. We received permit from New York State DOT. New York State DEC already issued their notice of completeness.
That's for the
That's
Transportation Corporation?
That's for the Transportation Corp.
Right.
And then we received the consent from Dutchess County Wastewater Authority, as long as the town engineer approves it. Julie had approved it, but unfortunately she's on maternity leave, so John had to kind of get himself up to date. As of today, he said he's done with the SWIP and all that too. Yep. And I think
What was that? He's done with what?
as of today, he's, I think, done with his review. We've been going back and forth on a couple items, and I think he should be done also with the bond. So I know David was now reviewing the security agreements of the bond,
Right.
and so hopefully we have it also, we can provide all those things to the town.
Right, I spoke with John Andrews last week, and I know he was waiting for something from the Department of Health and also DEC.
Yeah, which we
So he
got.
thought he might have a memo out this week, but
Yep.
I haven't seen anything yet. So that
So-
should be coming.
Yep. So we spoke to him, all the issues he had, we resolved. So hopefully we have all the information he needs.
Okay. Right, so we have, we'll have several items on the agenda for the 19th regarding Silo, the HOA, you know, with public access, and so we can start moving forward with these things.
Our goal, I think, we should be done this month on the site plan with the town. Hopefully, we can also finalize the subdivision plat with the planning board. And we can't file the subdivision plat or sign the site plan until we receive the final permit from DEC, which cannot be issued until after the November 20th. So we're hopeful that that permit comes in the first part of December, and if we have everything else already sorted out, then at that point, the subdivision plat can be filed and the site plan can be filed as well. One thing I do have that I owe you is the conservation easement. So
You do have that.
that we finally got it We are making changes to it, trying to make sure that, because the one we had originally with Dutchess Land Conservancy already was reviewed by David Everett, ourselves, was pretty much all the way. Now, Nault has their own template. We sent them the previous one plus what the town was going to be looking into. They tried to incorporate what they thought they would be willing to do. Now we're reviewing it. I want to make sure we get it closer to where it needs, where we think is the right document. Then we'll share it with Dave Everett. That's, I think, the only document that won't be ready for review the next meeting.
Okay, well, thank you for coming in, because I think, we've got a lot to do
No, thank
in the
you for
next
having
few weeks, and, we just, we want to make sure we have our, all the information we need, and, so that we can move forward with this.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Not at this time.
I do have some comments on the public comments, but I don't know if it's later or now.
You can do public comment?
Okay. If you're not
No, that's
ready.
okay. Public comment is right after other matters.
So, so I did.
We're following the agenda.
So I did have a question for Vicky Doyle. I couldn't understand what the CAC meant about the well.
So the CAC met, was it last week? It's all a blur. At any rate, we had talked about, you had a planning board meeting that night, is that right? It's the same night as our CAC, whatever your last night was. So we had heard from Tonya, who came back down to tell us, gave us some information about what they had been discussing, and one of the things that she had said was that there's concern about the pump tests, the pump tests that were occurring, whether or not whether it was done in the right season, and whether it was done so that you would know that once it was fully built out, what the draw would be, if that's an accurate representation.
It's extremely not accurate. First of all the pump tests and all the stuff was already done, approved by our engineer, actually 2 engineers. We had Chasen originally do it, which was, it's a hydrologist that everybody uses around here. Russell or Urban Mead. Then we had a separate hydrologist.
They both did it together, right?
Then we had a separate engineer reviewed it and did a separate test. Then we had the town's engineer reviewed it. Then we also have the permits for DEC and the DEC and the health department. Everybody's been fine with it. The only thing that came up, what Tanya was talking about, was that a well for irrigation purposes.
Well 25?
Came with a contaminant.
Right.
We tested that well, and the well had no contaminants.
Right.
Also, understand that for us to use that well, it's under the extreme circumstance that there's no water. We are pumping all the water in the world to keep from irrigating the golf course and the development, and there's full-time occupancy, and only during 5 days a year that we have to use that well. So just to put in perspective how illogical that is, we are doing growing season right now, which is when we need the most water ever. We actually need double the amount of water than when the golf course is operating. We have half of the capacity of the lake because we keep it low for, if there's storm surges, we don't have silt leaving the site.
Right.
And we still have enough water to do all that.
But when you build out, though,
It has nothing to do with build out. This is an irrigation well.
This is just for irrigation.
This had nothing to do with it. And then what we discussed last week had nothing to do with this. Had to do under the Natural Resource Management Plan. We have 4 or 5 monitoring wells. Those are to monitor water quality. They're not deep wells. When Audubon reviewed the new golf course plan, certain wells that were located for the previous plan, they said we don't really need them. So Julie Mangarillo, back, 8 months ago, had made actually last year, had made a comment of, why are you deleting these? Do we need to now contact back again the person that reviewed it for the town is some guy from Cornell. We said, forget about it, we'll keep the wells. John doesn't have all of Julie's memos, so one of the pending memos last week was a memo from May 2014 or whatever. So we provided him all the answers. So she completely misinterpreted everything. We have the same amount of wells that was in the regionally approved master plan, and we kept it.
Okay.
So Julie's questions was just, why are you deleting them? We said, let's not make a big deal of this, we'll just put the well.
I appreciate that. It's frustrating that we have the CAC meeting at the same time as your
Yeah, I
planning board meeting, and I couldn't be in two places at once. So I only got the information towards the end, and hopefully this clarification I'll bring back to the CAC and help them reference
But
it.
all those issues have been addressed. It's just, as you know,
Right, no, I
John's
know.
trying to figure out, because one of our conditions is we got to show that we answered all of the consultants' comments.
Right.
So they're going back to memos a year ago, and he said, I don't have answers to this. So we
Right,
provided
so
the
that's
memo.
where it was. Okay.
And then what happened, we explained what happened. We said, and then she just didn't understand. She thought we were deleting wells, not deleting wells.
Okay.
So that's what it is.
No, I appreciate the clarification because we're at CAC, we're right now working on groundwater and all of the different developments and pressures that our groundwater and our aquifer could be under. So
We understand.
that's just part of the that's their role, the CAC, is to protect our natural resources, and groundwater
understand.
is where we're starting.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Town board comments?
Our dance program has had a little bit of a setback, but it's back on track, and we have scheduled a series of additional time frames that we're going to add towards December. And for the most part, it's just the Friday before and the Saturday before the Holiday of Lights, which would be December 10th, 11th, and 12th. Those 3 days, I think. But I will get back to you specifically.
Just
Did
send
I
it to
CC
me.
you on that?
No. If
Okay,
you could
I will
kindly
do that.
send me an email so I can put it in the book.
Yep. And then we've also extended the hours on Saturdays from 10 to 2, of which they will break this up for little kids so that the little kids will not have to stay that whole time, but there will be more intensive time with broken up groups. And we will also hopefully be able to use the auditorium on Friday, November 13th for a photo op. So we're getting a professional photographer from Berkshire Taconic Community Foundation is sending out a photographer, and we're trying to get the kids to be here after school. So my guess it would be somewhere between 3:30 to 4:30, something like that.
Okay.
It won't take that long, but it will be great to get publicity ahead of time for our Holiday of Lights. So that's where we're at with that project. I have assumed we're still on for Holiday of Lights. Everything is coming together. We're putting together some interesting activities for everybody. And Dawn Marie, thank you for helping with Veterans Day and for your help with Holiday of Lights.
Veterans Day, 11 o'clock,
11 o'clock, that's right.
Fountain Square.
And we're meeting right at Fountain Square. We are not marching, we're not starting off at the Amenia Firehouse, so Scouts, the Cub Scouts and the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts and the firefighters that have all now confirmed with me, we are meeting directly at Fountain Square. So 15:45 will be fine.
Everybody should show up and spend the half an hour giving tribute to our veterans. It's very important.
Is there any other town board comments? No?
Yes.
Yes?
Oh, Denise, did
No,
you want to go ahead?
I'm not town board, so I'll wait until everybody's done.
All right. First, I wanted to speak about the water law. I'm very glad to hear that the board has put this on hold. I agree that it has not been given a careful and considered look, in my opinion, for the entirety of the proposed law. And I encourage, along with Mr. DeLango, all of the board members to do just that. I don't believe the financials for the district were ever reviewed properly, and I don't believe that the fees and fines are in line with the expenses incurred. The fact that there's no provision within the proposed law to protect our senior citizens, those living on a fixed income with life support systems or with certified medical conditions, blind, disabled, or 62 years of age or older, it's no provision to protect them from a shutoff, and no seasonal protection, I think is a failure on the part of the board, but I think it's one that if we're given the time to go over this, not just come up with numbers for fines, but actually go over the verbiage, that can be rectified. And I also think that there needs to be more communication, some communication, any communication with the households in the water district to inform them what's going on. Many people don't know or understand what we're talking about when it comes to the water law, proposed water law. Also, I wanted to mention on Saturday at, I believe it's 2 o'clock at the Legion up in Millerton, they're having Sunday in the Country. Food Drive is hosting a chicken barbecue contest. They'll be selling over 200 chicken dinners, and if you get the chance to go and see the contest and the good sportsmanship that goes back and forth between the teams who are competing and donating the chickens for the dinners, it's a lot of fun. So if you show up early or show up at 2 and get yourself a really delicious chicken dinner. If you show up early, you can kind of scope out which chicken you like the best and then choose that particular team's chicken. So that'll be this Saturday at 2 o'clock up in Millerton at the Legion, and I would encourage anybody who can to go up and support Sunday in the Country Food Drive. They do a lot of good for the surrounding communities, but in Amenia, I believe they feed at least 60 families in our town every holiday season, and this year, because of the bird flu and everything, the price of poultry has skyrocketed. They're having a bit of difficulty meeting the amount of money that they need to make. They've cut back a little bit, so if even if you can give them $1 or $5 or go buy a dinner, anything that they can get is really going to help, and it really makes a difference in our communities and in our neighboring communities. So,
Can you repeat the date again and the time?
Sure, that's Saturday,
November
this
7th.
Saturday, the 7th,
November 7th,
2 o'clock
2 to 4.
at the Legion.
Okay. I would just say we had a great meatloaf dinner at Wassaic Women's Auxiliary. The fire auxiliary crew did a great job with meatloaf on Thursday,
Tuesday.
November 3rd. And we had a great breakfast. Gosh, it's just been crazy. Breakfast at VFW also. So, really thanks to everybody around here. It's a great place to eat out. It's very affordable. Looking forward to more of those. And the fireman's breakfast on the 15th. And thanks to everybody for turning out to vote. I was very happy with the turnout and thrilled to be reelected. And I congratulate Damian Gutierrez. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but I welcome him to the town board. And congratulations, Victoria and Dawn Marie, Norm Moore. Who else? Anybody else? Did I leave anybody out? Anyway, everybody did a great job, and I'm glad you all turned out for the vote, or a lot of people did.
Make a motion to enter executive session for,
I just wanted to go back because I'm a
Legal.
little confused as to where we are in this water law. The other thing I wanted to mention, we talked about the opinion of the
Purposes.
controller. That was from 1978, so that's an older
Make a motion.
opinion. And I actually had forgotten that we had spoken back at the beginning of
Great.
September. There is a case out of the 4th Judicial Department, which is not, we're in the 2nd Judicial Department of the Appellate Division, that level of the court. This case, and we had talked about it back in September, and the court there held that the late fee of 10% a month was not unreasonable. So I think that's where we got to the 10% per month, is because the court upheld it there. So you have a decision, a court decision out in the 4th Department, which is Western New York State, and then you have an opinion of the state controller, which is, it's a bit old, it's 1978. So there's the discrepancy, you know, whether you do 10% per month, per quarter. So that said, you know, we held the public hearing open for the next meeting, so what do you want me to do? Do you want to vote on what you want to do with these interest, or the penalty tonight, and make a decision? Because I would have to make the revisions, get it to Dawn, so she has it on file, if you're going to continue the public hearing at the next meeting.
so do I have a second?
I think probably we do have to go back over all the language and check out the questions that came up tonight, such as "you shall turn off the water in 60 days." Let's revisit that language. Consider these two suggestions that you've had, that 10% per month is not unreasonable, but go back over the math. Make sure we understand, did we say annual or compounded, you know, monthly? Make sure that the language and the math are what we intended it to be. And, you know, maybe consider seasonal protection, or just by simply saying, rather than shall, you could, you know, you are allowed to turn the water off in 60 days. That way you have the chance to review each case as it is. You wouldn't just automatically shut it off if there's some issue, health issue, or, you know, life-threatening issue, or the wrong season, or whatever. You would consider all those things before you did that. Also take a look at the right for the water operator to enter at any time. Let's look at the language. And then I would think that each of us would get back to you and say, you know, does this really mean that at any moment the water operator could walk in and say...
I don't think that's what this says.
Okay, so we want to make sure that we are clear.
I mean, he's not just going to break into somebody's house. You know?
Right, but can we make some kind of language that says, you know, upon several attempts at a written
Yeah, well, I think what they're
communication...
worried about is someone knocking on the door and let me in, I gotta see your meter.
Yeah,
And
so
that
we would-
Well, again,
And
let's
there
go
is-
back,
say that
let's
you
go
can
back
do
to the
that.
specific
There is a
language
form
and
that
look
goes
at it.
that
Right,
goes out.
because-
Right.
Yeah,
That's
telling
not
them
what
that there's
I think
a
that those are the
defective
things
meter.
that I think we do need to look back at and make sure that we're clear how that will go into effect.
But we do
So
need to have...
what do you want to
We
do?
do need to have some recourse if someone continues to ignore the notices and just gets billed the base fee without having the meter looked at.
Right, so then
I
that should be...
agree
there
with
seems to
that,
be
and I
some
think that it
recourse.
has to
Right,
state that
after
the
two-
notice is required,
Right.
and how many notices, and, you know, things like that.
Well, they're
But
already,
it doesn't,
the notice is part of the
but
original
it's not
law.
written in there. The way it's written, it's not written that, the way that you're saying it is not the way that it's written.
Okay.
Well, there's certainly notice provisions in there in regard to
Yes,
shut
there
off,
are.
and I will have to go back. Again, you know, we have like, I don't know, 18 pages, and
Yeah,
if you
it's up to
want, if
18
somebody wants to
pages.
point to a specific provision, you know, I would suggest that you get the language, point it out, what you're objecting to, and then we know what we have to address. Because just, you know, talking about it generally without going and looking at the language really doesn't do anything. So
we should have a deadline for getting back to, getting our comments to Denise so that she can respond, to these before she has to redraft this, anything, right?
Well, that's why I kind of suggested maybe we should, all of us, sit down and read through this.
At a separate meeting.
So we're here,
Yeah.
and we could talk to each other. This is what it's about, and then we decide on it right there.
Well, I think
You know-
I had asked about that last year, and then, somebody's in the audience objecting to, oh, why are you talking about all these specifics?
Well, we
I
did
mean,
that,
well,
during
was-
one meeting. I mean, it took a while, but we did, paragraph by paragraph.
I mean, we could
No,
do
we
a
did
workshop
that for
meeting
the
where,
Water contract
we just sit
operator.
down and discuss it.
The contract for the water operator, but not
Well,
for
the
the
12th
law.
is available. The following Thursday is Thanksgiving, so that doesn't work. But, the 12th, I don't have anything yet. We have a meeting on the 11th that's going to be quite a long and involved meeting, but we could meet the next day. I'm going to be here anyway on the 13th, but that's a Friday. I don't think that's good. If everybody else is available on the 12th, I wouldn't mind meeting.
No, I'm not available.
Okay.
I'm
So-
available on the 20th for a special meeting about this.
That's on a Friday.
Yes, it is.
The 12th?
The 20th, I'm available for a special meeting about this.
What about
I'm
you?
not here on the 20th.
Friday night?
Remember we used to do Friday mornings at 8 a.m.?
Yeah, but those were shorter. This is going to be a long, we'd all be late to work.
It's a workshop,
It would just be a special meeting.
not making any decisions?
There would be
Therefore-
decisions being made.
You don't,
So do you want me there
It
or
would
not?
be a special meeting.
I think we'd need you there to answer the questions, wouldn't we, or not?
I don't know if Denise should be there. We could hash out our questions, and then what is the question to Denise? Then we put our questions in a order, and then Denise can answer them.
I think that's a great idea, Mike.
We sit down and we talk about it. We go through number one. What does everybody think about it? Oh, it's fine. Okay, we mark that off fine. Number two, what does everybody think about it? Well, we do have a discussion. If it's a 2-minute discussion, if it's a 10-minute discussion, whatever, then we have questions about it to ask Denise. Then we put together our list of questions and we send them to Denise.
I think that's a great idea.
Saturday night?
So that would be the 20th that we would get our list to you. Would that still be enough time for a public hearing and to
The public
redraft
hearing's
this?
on the 19th.
The public
It
hearing's
doesn't
still
have to-
open.
It's just open.
Yeah, but why would the public want to
Because we
continue
can
looking
take
at it?
additional public comment and we can get this information out to people in the district.
So I
A
mean,
lot
if
of
you're
people
going to make
don't even
revisions after
have-
that, then you'd have to put it over to December, continue the public hearing.
I mean, it's just like when
Over
Silo
again.
has a public hearing, they have to collect the comments, and then they have to answer the comments, and until the comments are answered, then they can't close the public hearing. So it's sort of the same thing with
Just
us.
keep it open.
I mean, it
No
doesn't,
harm.
Okay.
I mean, if we're going to finish this thing and get it done, I think that's the best way to do it.
But is there another day you want to do that, or?
Friday the 20th seems to be the only day that Gretchen can do it.
I can do it in the morning or after 3:30.
What day?
The 20th, the day you're not here.
I mean, I could do it real early in the morning,
I can do
You
it
know,
real early.
6 o'clock.
Yep.
What?
I mean, that's up to you guys, and I
There's
mean,
no other days in between?
I
After
got
the
other
11th?
days.
Not for me.
Not at all?
The 11th?
No, after the 11th?
I mean, if I could change some things around and do a 7:30 at night meeting, but I don't think that would give ample time to go through 18
Well, we're starting these
pages.
interviews at 5 o'clock, and what are they, 15-minute increments?
I was
But
going to do 10 because they're
then-
all repeats.
We have the budget to go through as well.
It's 2.5 hours of interviews plus the budget.
I think we've got a
2.5.
full plate.
Okay. So, you want to do it when do you want to do this?
I could do it on the 20th. I cannot do a 6 in the morning. I have animals to deal with.
Can
It
we
just doesn't
do a
happen.
weekend?
A weekend is fine, I
If
guess.
it's just us meeting, either Saturday morning
We
or
can do
Sunday
it a
afternoon,
we can do
I'm here
Saturday,
anyway
I'm
at
available
10.
anytime, so.
you know, I mean, if we could run,
21st?
no, the weekend before that.
Or
would be
14th.
better. 14th or the 15th.
Well, 15th is out.
15th is a Sunday. I mean, I could do the 14th.
What about the 14th? What time?
I'm pretty open, so.
Dawn Marie, what about you?
8 a.m.
8 a.m. on the 14th?
But I mean, does Dawn Marie
Vicky?
doesn't even have to be here if it's just
Well,
a,
that was my question, if you're making
We'll be
decisions, like making votes, or are you just having a workshop general meeting?
no, we're just gonna
That's the
compile questions for Denise, so
We're
Dawn
going to be
Marie doesn't
making
even have to be here.
changes to text in a proposed public law, and I think it would be
Yeah, we
just
need minutes to that.
a s-
But you're not changing the text, we're going through the law, and we're giving our changes to Denise. Then Denise is gonna rewrite the law with our changes in there.
I think we need minutes for this.
Yeah, but there's
Mike.
still decisions we're making.
Whatever,
We're making
whatever you guys wanna do.
decisions.
So 14th at 8 o'clock, going once, going twice.
It's fine, let me.
Sold, Vicky?
I would say 8 to 10 because the dance program needs this for their practicing.
Need
Could we
what?
go up, if
They
we pass
practice
10,
for
could
their
we go up to the
songs.
planning board room?
Well, we can go in the planning board room.
Yeah.
Go in
Let's just
Dawn's
go
office.
upstairs.
My office is fine too, we can go in my room.
We could go to Four Brothers and have breakfast.
Poor
I
brothers
mean,
does
Well, why don't we
Yeah.
just use the planning board room at, so
Okay,
we're
in the
talking
planning
8
board
o'clock
room.
on the 14th?
Yeah.
8 a.m.
Yeah, I'll make sure it's open.
I think Stephen will attend.
Okay. Okay.
I have to see if he's on call.
We're all on call at that time.
That's weekend, right?
Yep.
So everybody
8
is,
a.m.
okay. Are there any other town board comments? Or any other comments at all? Okay.
I wanted to thank everybody for coming out and voting. I wanted to thank everybody who ran for office this go-around. And of course, congratulations to those who won, but huge thanks to those who just went out there and gave it their best.
I make a motion, we go into executive session
I'll second it.
for pending litigation.
(9:05 p.m.) Councilman Delango.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
In the minutes, we'll note that Stephen left at 8:39.